In business-to-business marketing, compliance is often mistaken for morality, but a strictly legal practice is not automatically ethical. Mapping what is legal against what is ethical reveals massive non-overlapping zones, exposing a constant, daily vulnerability for modern firms. Ethics in a business context demands a high standard of behavior that requires complex, active moral judgments. It goes well beyond basic economic reasoning, asking what is right in an evolving, hyper-competitive economy. This brings us to corporate social responsibility, which exists on a spectrum defined by three distinct management philosophies. The baseline approach is known as the invisible hand. Under the invisible hand, a corporation's sole responsibility is generating profits and obeying the law. The hand of government outsources morality entirely to regulators. Finally, the hand of management argues corporations must proactively exercise independent moral judgments daily. Applying the hand of management means embedding moral judgments into the daily operations of the firm. This manifests across four functional pillars: marketing research and the pricing function, sales force management, and advertising strategy. The first pillar is marketing research. This is the front line of information integrity. If deception or misrepresentation occurs here, it undermines the entire enterprise. Managing this data requires balancing the rights of three primary stakeholders: society, the client, and the researcher. Society has a right to be informed of objective research results. If a firm discovers data impacting general health or safety, the public deserves to know. Suppressing that data violates a basic social right. The client paying for the research expects absolute confidentiality regarding the working relationship and the study's purpose. It often benefits competitors simply to know a study is taking place. This confidentiality is crucial because information gathering easily crosses into competitive espionage. For example, individuals might conduct fake surveys under the guise of student research to extract a competitor's inventory levels or sales volumes. Finally, the researchers themselves have a right to protection from improper solicitation. A prime example of abusing this right is known as sharp practices. This occurs when a firm solicits external proposals with no intention of hiring the outside agency, doing so purely to drive down the internal prices of their own in-house research department. Managing B2B research requires a precise balance of the conflicting rights held by clients, society, and the researchers themselves to prevent information abuse. The second and arguably most complex ethical pillar is the pricing function. Because of the vast potential for market abuse, pricing is heavily policed by federal antitrust laws, like the Sherman, Clayton, and Federal Trade Commission Acts, all designed to maintain competitive markets. Even standard pricing strategies carry ethical risks. Under the Robinson Patent Act, price discrimination against smaller accounts is unlawful. Yet when internal and external pressures mount, business marketers face constant temptation to treat certain customers better than others. This document outlines explicit antitrust violations, beginning with price fixing. The law defines this as any agreement between competitors regarding price, explicitly citing agreements to adhere to a book price as an illegal act. This is a severe criminal felony. Corporations conspiring to stabilize prices face massive fines, and the individuals involved can be sentenced to federal prison. Another major violation detailed here is bid rigging. This occurs when potential bidders agree on which companies will bid for certain contracts or coordinate the specific prices they will offer. This subversion of the bidding process often happens long before bids are submitted. A buying center might collude with a favored supplier to tailor highly restrictive product specifications, ensuring no competitor can possibly qualify for the contract. Moving down the text, we see tying arrangements. This restricts buyer freedom by forcing a customer to purchase a different, unrelated product just to obtain the item they actually need. Unethical pricing practices extend beyond corporate greed. They dismantle the competitive mechanics of the free market system and actively eliminate the buyer's freedom to make economic choices. Our third pillar is sales force management. Salespeople operate without continuous direct supervision while under constant pressure to produce revenue. This creates daily temptations that fall into two broad categories: ethics in dealing with customers and ethics in dealing with their own employers. On the customer side, representatives walk a very fine line. The distinction between a legitimate business gift or entertainment expense and an illegal bribe is easily blurred, especially when attempting to secure high-stakes contracts. There is also the practice of reciprocity, where a business buyer gives preference to a supplier who is also a customer. While not inherently illegal, it becomes an unfair restriction of trade if it suppresses competition and prevents other suppliers from offering better prices or service. The second category involves the salesperson abusing their own company. As this text explicitly states, salespeople who waste or misuse time are in a sense stealing profits from the employing company. This includes moonlighting, specifically the unethical practice of kiting, where a representative uses company time to run a side business. Sales managers also face a constant struggle in controlling expense accounts. The allocation of travel and entertainment dollars represents the single most frequent area for ethical abuse within a sales organization. Even standard management tools can cause problems. Poorly designed sales contests often unintentionally incentivize misconduct, pressuring representatives to stockpile orders until the contest begins, or oversell unneeded products just to secure a win. The buyer-seller relationship requires rigorous oversight. The systemic pressure and isolation inherent in sales routinely convert standard tactics into explicit misconduct. The final functional pillar is advertising strategy. The core ethical tension here lies in the distinction between stating strict facts and using figurative language to persuade buyers to purchase a product. Truth in advertising is complex. A statement made about a product can be factually true and entirely devoid of lies, yet still be morally objectionable if it misleads the buyer by omitting vital dangers or limitations. This source defines comparative advertising as a promotional piece that actually names competitors and proceeds to compare one product with another. Even though this practice is legal, many B2B marketing managers strictly prohibit or discourage it within their firms. They view comparative advertising as serving no real purpose other than to lower the professional standards of the industry and risk inaccurate implications. Ethical advertising requires extreme vigilance. Marketers must ensure persuasion never crosses into manipulation or deception, regardless of whether a tactic skirts the law. The functional matrix reveals that unethical behavior often stems from vulnerabilities embedded within the structures of research, pricing, sales, and advertising. Because these temptations are structural, relying solely on personal integrity is insufficient to protect the enterprise. Organizations require enforceable structures. The American Marketing Association Code of Ethics expressly forbids practices like price fixing and false advertising. Corporations adopt similar customized codes, like the Johnson & Johnson Credo shown here, to mandate ethical guidelines. The hand of management must be a permanent fixture. True ethical strategy requires transforming abstract philosophies into strict, enforceable corporate policies.